So you were saying first things first and just get it, you go in there and look, okay, got it. Then why do we hang out with the master? Why did you hang out with the master?
I recognized that it was such an amazing, rare opportunity to sit in the presence of such a rare being who I found myself absolutely adoring and in love with. So I always noticed at some point each year a longing to be back at his feet. So I followed that longing all the way back to Lucknow and felt each time so deeply grateful that once again I could gaze upon him, sit in his most beautiful, radiant presence and just absorb all that he was so generously, continually sharing with everyone.
Did he talk a lot like you? I mean, did you ask him a lot of questions like we do with you? And did he ever try to help you or say how you do anything?
I would guess that in the seven different occasions that I was back in Lucknow, usually for 3 months, once for 6 months, once living in the master's house, that in that time, maybe we spoke for a total of 5 minutes. You have to, maybe 10 minutes if you added up every single exchange. So much of what was communicated was not communicated in words. For at least 2 years, he was ruthlessly ignoring of me. It was either 2 or 3 years. Although still, I got to sit at his feet, come to his house, and be ignored.
Well, I'm not too different from my friend Aka. I mean, he and I had really kind of parallel questions last night, And I kind of get it, that you just lean back and believe, or you don't. Okay, but I could see there was gaps between thoughts. But I don't have any, they're not any further apart today. And maybe because this is what I believe, but I just can't imagine they're going to be any farther apart from lots of days of sitting and watching the thoughts go by.
Well, I hope you're not burdened with an idea that your task from now on is the elongating the gaps between thoughts.
Yeah, because else where is this ocean of love I saw on your flyer last night? My thoughts don't. My thoughts don't feel like an ocean of love. They just feel like a silly jabbering.
Huh?
They feel like a silly jabbering, and I do see they're impermanent. They're totally impermanent,
So really, this so-called gap between thoughts, the silence, is ever present, and it's not a question of the cessation of the arising of thought. Again, one need only look to the source of thought itself to recognize silence, to recognize stillness, to recognize one's essential, unchanging nature, one's Buddha nature.
So you could recognize it I'm lying down on the couch and the cat's lying on my chest purring, and I just feel like all's right with the world. Is that a notion of love, or is that a person thinking all's right with the world?
Here's what happens. So if you ask me that kind of question, is that how it is? Mm-hmm. And then I answer, it really is left on the level of belief.
Yeah.
And really what I'm inviting you to do is to look and see for your own self. I'm really asking you not to believe anything I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Not to make me into some kind of authority, but to recognize that you yourself can confirm the truth of the truth and recognize your own inherent authority, your own inherent capacity to confirm what's true for your own self.
There's two things a little scary. One is that what I thought I confirmed with my authority last year, I might not, well, I've experienced seeing it being real different to me another year. And the other thing is hearing stories like, is it Muller, Nasrudin or something? We can be a fool too, thinking, yes, my cat purring, and now this bliss, this is my true nature. Maybe I'm mistaken, and the experience of that I change, even something I think I solidly know, it changes. But you know what doesn't change?
You won't be fooled by the recognized piece of your own being and your own purring.
And my own what?
Purring.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what hasn't changed is there is a sense of liking myself. I kind of think it must be a higher self, because there's somebody that's stayed there through all the changes.
That's right. I say that often in satsang, that you can recognize, or at least intuit, at 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, I still feel the same. There's something that's not changed, 20 years old, 30 years old. Very strong, unspoken intuition that nothing's changing, even though, quite obviously, the body is changing, the personality changes, the roles and functions may be changing. There have been millions of emotional states coming and going, and mental states coming and going. So many spiritual states coming and going. And yet there's something that is absolutely unchanging and untouched. And it's that I am pointing to. That is your own true nature. And what is that? Well, lo and behold, it turns out to be consciousness itself. The awareness in which all of those appearances were appearing in. And what remained when those appearances disappeared.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Bob.
And I just have a question about, I guess, awareness and being in the moment. And I find that naturally when there's not any pressure on me,
When there's
no pressure,
no pressure,
and not working, can take it easy, then I can be pretty much in the moment if I bring myself to it, which I try to do quite often. What I find very difficult, which probably most people do, is at work. And when pressures come at me, I start out the day with pretty good of being in the moment, thinking, oh, this is great. I'm noticing what's going on, and there's no problem in the moment, as there usually isn't. And then as it builds up, the steamroller effect of things coming at me, feeling more pressure, more demands, and my thoughts quicken, then I start losing touch with myself, touch with the moment. Pressure builds up, and it goes on through the day, and then we come to the end, and then it's slowing down, getting contact with the moment again, and then everything's okay again by the time the end of the evening comes. And I'm looking at what to do in the middle of that steamroller effect when the pressure is there, to bring myself back to what's going on. And sometimes I do that briefly, and I think, oh, okay, I know what's going on inside, but then another thing comes at me, more pressure, and I'm gone again and lost to it all, and just responding to, well, the next moment, I'm on to the next, I got to do this, got to do this. I guess I'm looking for a way to deal with that. I think I know the answer is to bring my awareness to it, but the awareness is not, I'm not doing that.
So there is a possibility of letting work life, the workplace, and the pressures that are accompanying the tasks at hand to be the very reminder every time there's this recognition of pressure, to allow the recognition of pressure to point you back in this moment of that which is already at peace. You let the workplace and those hours be a time when you allow what arises for you that up to now has been functioning as a kind of obscuration to now be a graceful pointer. But unburdened by some idea that you're supposed to be remembering your true nature all the time, or this, be unburdened by everything. Recognize from time to time in the course of the day the fundamental absolute truth that all that work is happening of itself. Recognize the apparent nature of the doer that you take yourself to be, the worker. Marvel at this amazing play that you, pure consciousness, are now manifesting as this separate individual one called the pressured worker now. Remember from time to time that it can't be any different than it is, ever. Don't bring to the experience of tension, to contraction, more tension and more contraction that comes with the judgment that this moment should be other. I should be feeling something else. I should be thinking something else. The attention should be somewhere else.
Yeah, I realize
the recognition of this lila could be the recognition of deep, deep compassion and play. This amazing play that is the dance between the recognition of one's true self as pure consciousness on the one hand, and the living, breathing, felt experience as being this separate individual working guy on the other. Wow. See that they're not separate at all, and that any separation is just appearance. Upon investigation, the appearance falls away. I am that. Into expression as the worker. And now, later, at rest. Pure consciousness, at ease.
And that's probably part of it, is wanting to have what I have outside of work when I'm at rest in work, thinking that there's some way to make both of them happen, where I could be at rest in the middle of pressure and then being disappointed when I can't bring that around to happen, that I need to do something else to make that happen.
So let go of that one. Give your life's blood to your work, which is your attention, the attention to the hammer hitting that nail, or the scalpel cutting into the brain. I don't know what you do.
You're close. Work with teenagers.
So by all means, enjoy yourself. You're working with teenagers. You can have a great play. Great fun. I mean, the pressure is such a great ally because it's a ruthless and urgent reminder to let go. Let go of what? It could be let go of the contracted stomach. Let go of a burdensome idea. And if you're working with teenagers, let go of an idea that you have any control of what's going on. So, the workplace is not separate from the spiritual life. It's not like we go to work and we've stepped out of the spiritual life and then we go home and we're stepping back in. So there's not really this distinction between the world of the world and the world of the spirit. It's all this seamless, eternal now. Display is changing. One moment, the display could be this halfway house and this runaway. Another moment, the display could be your favorite room and your favorite cushion. Display keeps changing. You haven't gone anywhere. You're not doing anything. You remain as you always are, perfectly still, perfectly unmoving. Stillness is your nature.
Right, and I think it's wanting the pressure to be gone, to not experience that, to just be in a relaxed state all the time. And that when that doesn't happen, I think, well, how can I make that happen here? Thinking that the spiritual world, bringing it into work, means being as if I'm at rest and not feeling that, but just being at rest.
Mm-hmm. You know what's really helpful, really, and I really mean this, be unburdened by this demand of all the timeness. Spiritual seekers and spiritual finders alike seem to be very burdened by this notion that there's supposed to be some state that's now in place and is always going to be there. I tell you, it's a fundamental misunderstanding. It's a fairy tale of ever after. And it ensures suffering. How it is everything keeps changing. I mean, we've noticed this. So in the face of this fact, to desire for something to be held in place forever after ensures the disappointment in its passing, in its disappearance. But what is it that's ever present and unchanging? And it's this that I'm always speaking of and pointing to in Satsang. And it's your own nature, and that's the great news. It's you. You are the place of retreat. Wherever you are, the possibility of retreat is. Your meditation room with your candles burning and the beautiful photographs and the zafu and the incense burning could be one of the noisiest places on the planet. And that halfway house, in the midst of the greatest chaos and craziness, can be the place of great, great peace. The pressure can point back to that place of peace that is your own heart. Let it serve your intention for peace here and now. So it sounds good. That sounds good. Well, you haven't been to that place where I work. So the task in the midst of the pressure is the pressure serving me? Is the pressure serving my intention for peace, for freedom, for serving these people? Is it serving my intention of earning a living in a pleasant way? I say, no. None of the above. So always in satsang, I'm saying to use what's displaying, be it anxiety or anger or grief or whatever, in behalf of freedom. Nothing need be functioning as an obscuration any longer. But the entertainment of the pressure becomes a habit, you see. And one then feels a kind of victimization of this perpetuating habit. But you're not the servant to this pressure by any means. It's certainly within your power to let it go, to be at ease. It's natural, there's pressure sometimes. A lot of time. Pressure is not the enemy. So, we're flying into Seattle, and the final 10 minutes before landing is like a lot of turbulence. And I'm like clutching my rock. Right? I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, I should be at utter peace and bliss. I'm trying to keep my breathing going. Stop the rock from cutting into my hand. We're human beings, for God's sake.
Hanuman. My name is Jeannie. Will you please tell me what your master told you about freedom?
That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything. Nothing else is happening here other than that. And if there is something else happening other than that, please excuse me and accept my humble apology. He said, you are that. He said, look and see for your own self. He said, when a man of authority tells you that the rope is a rope and not a snake, look and see for your own self that that's the truth. He said that which you are, I am. He said, I am your own true self. You are my own true self. He said, I abide in your heart and you abide in mine. So that's when he was being nice. Other things. So always when the master was in a teaching mode, he was always only pointing to one's true nature and really demanding, pleading, look now for your own self. Don't postpone this looking. Was there something else, Jean? No?
My name's Walter, and I feel as if I've come up to this wall on this. I can look inside of me and I see that stillness, that emptiness, that void of which all things display in. And I have discovered to take myself, my thoughts, the happenings around me considerably less seriously than I used to. And when I look inside, it still feels as if it is this thing inside of this body. I am still stuck with these years and years of habit of the I am the body concept, of which all things, according to Mr. Maharaj, that everything else springs from, where the difficulty is. And for the last 2 days, I've been sitting here wondering what's bugging me, and it's the fact that I am stuck with the I am the body concept, and I'm tired of it. Mm-hmm. It's like I search for this freedom, and I have found degrees of it, but I feel as if this is possibly the thing that I'm missing.
So on the one hand, you see that your nature is pure emptiness, and on the other hand, there is this persistent sense that I am this body.
Yes, as if the emptiness is contained within this body.
Yeah, but you could also easily, readily see here and now that this body is an object appearing in consciousness. I mean, see that now. Just like you're seeing this rock and this, whatever this is. Like this appearing in consciousness as an object, this appearing in consciousness as an object, this body appearing in consciousness as an object. so it appears as if consciousness is within and without. This is self-evident. You can see this now.
Within, I get the...
No, just, it's so simple. Here, pillow. Object appearing in consciousness. Hand. Object appearing in consciousness.
Right.
Right. Okay, hand. Arm. Shoulder. Okay. Torso. Loins. Altogether, the body. An object appearing in consciousness.
The seamlessness between the consciousness, the emptiness, and the display.
Say again? The seamlessness between the consciousness
And samsara, the display.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it feels like an emptiness witnessing the display.
Yeah. It not only feels that way, that's the case.
Right. And
Period. The problem that everyone gets into is they go, comma, but. If it's self-evident to you now, don't add on this but. The but's just an idea, just a story. It's not the truth. There is no but about it.
I can see that I'm sitting here watching the movie, the screen, the empty screen, the display of light upon the screen.
And you can see that you are the very watching itself, and there's no you separate from that. Maybe you can see this, maybe not.
So I am not the watcher, I am the watching.
Yeah. That's right. Let's see that. See if there's a watcher separate from the watching.
Perhaps it is just years of habit, but at this point, it feels like that
Okay.
to me. That there is an empty watcher inside of me, watching.
Okay. So is the watcher separate from the watching? Or are they one and the same?
Yeah, the separate watcher doesn't exist.
You see that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
Good. Period. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. And that's quite profound, that recognition. That separate individual doesn't exist, except as an appearance. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Done. And now? Oh, this feeling. Oh, this is the evidence. This thought, well, I better believe that one.
Once again, getting back to the habit, it was there. And I see it, but the habit comes back.
And so how does the habit express itself? In thoughts, feelings. What is it that is aware of the thoughts and the feelings? What is it that's aware of anything other than awareness itself? But language is tricky. We speak of my awareness, like we possess awareness, like this hand possesses this stick And so we take ourselves to be the subject and awareness the object, the possession. But upon investigation of the possessor, in this investigation, who or what is it that possesses awareness, as if awareness is some object, the possessor of awareness is never ever found because it doesn't exist. You are awareness itself. Okay, what's your name? No, it's a great sweatshirt man. Yeah. Chris, okay, Chris. Huh?
There is only the watching. It's if there is a watching, and I am that watching. And as you just said, it's a trick of language, but it seems to me that the watching would be separate from the display.
Well, where does the separation occur?
I don't know.
Okay, well, look for that.
Okay.
Look for the separation. Separation is only found in thinking.
I guess I don't like to think that all of this is just happening of itself, that I have some part in control of it.
Well, then see, though. I mean, you're serious about these matters, no doubt. Well, pull that curtain away and see if the Wizard of Oz is pulling the levers, or is that room empty? See that? If the wizard is in there, let's speak. I'd like to meet that one. I mean, this is the beauty of these teachings, really, is that you can see for your own self the truth of the truth by looking for your own self. Or you can reject all of this by saying, wait a minute, there's a door in here, Hanuman. You don't know what you're talking about. Fair enough, but first you have to look.
I'm looking.
Yeah.
I see no doer.
Yeah. And I invite you to look 10,000 times. And finally, it will dawn upon you, I don't have to look anymore. It's really the self-evident truth. It's all happening of itself. Wow. Even the sense of individuality, even the doubts arising. Everything without exception. I really mean without exception. Everything is happening of itself, without a doer even. All thoughts are displaying without a thinker. Possible to feel a deep, deep relief and peace in the recognition that I don't have to do anything at all, nor can I. And this is surrender. We have been and are moved by some unseen hand, you can say, that has many names. We're not separate from that. the divine and sacred that moves us, I am. I'm speaking of you. Wow. I know how real the illusion feels. That doesn't make it real.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So very strong habit, this desire to feel in control.
Yeah, I am watching this incredible intellectual pride within myself who does not want to let go and accept that which I know you're saying. Because I look into myself and I get a glimpse. And sometimes I can last an hour. And I know that all of it will come and go. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And
perfectly fine. It's all perfectly fine. Just as it is. Can't be any other way.
I am, and I'm not the body. I just am. The body displays in that
I am.
emptiness.
You can say I am. Beyond that, you're limiting the truth of your limitlessness. The very beingness that you are has no boundaries and no limits.
And I look inside, it seems about that big, about a good fist size. That emptiness, that's about all I can see of it. When I look inside, that which is witnessing all seems to be about, you know.
And what surrounds it? This funny guy. Walter.
I hadn't thought of it that way before. Just more.
Yeah. Endless more.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
Hello. My name is Margaret, and well, I have a question about what you're saying about the moment being present is all that's important, or that's all that's happening.
So that's all there is this
Okay,
eternal
all there
now.
But while you're in this internal now, it's like the decisions you're making for the next moment are being made while you're in this internal now.
Eternal now. This,
Yeah. And
yes,
the decisions,
timeless now.
right, and the last, so they're always affecting the future. And so based on this eternal now, then you're making decisions whether that can, will affect the next eternal now, the next moment. So,
well, there isn't any next eternal now.
But you're making decisions based on
What
this eternal
decisions
now.
are happening? Yeah.
Decisions are happening, right? Okay. So at some point, when these decisions are happening, and they, depending on what the decision is, and how it's affecting you, then it will affect how you will be in this eternal now, how you will be able to.
So it appears. From the point of view of this separate individual, it always seems like there's a lot at stake. From the point of view of reality, there's nothing at stake at all. It's why I'm always saying in Satsang, first things first. See the illusory nature of that separate individual for whom each moment seems to hold this great risk and this great sense of so much at stake.
So there isn't a lot at stake? Is what-
There is, from the point of view of the apparent individual, but really, you remain as you are, regardless of what is unfolding. I mean, the unfoldment is continually changing. This panorama is forever changing. And yet, here you are, perfectly untouched, perfectly still, already at ease, at peace. It's just that we so much identify with the apparent individual as being the sum total of that which I am. It is this very misidentification which leads to some belief that there is so much at stake here. What's going to happen to me? What's going to become of me? I mean, this is the content of the story that we seem to be obsessed with.
Right. It's kind of like.
So there's a story about me. The story that we've heard 10 million times before already. And it really seems that there is this separate individual, and that this story is about that one, and this story is the truth. But as it turns out, upon investigation, it's recognized that the one that story is about exists only within that story and nowhere else. The story is pure fiction. And you have always been and are the very consciousness in which those thoughts, which I'm referring to as the story, are displaying in. I'm suggesting to cease identifying with that imagined one and its dream and wake up to the reality that I'm consciousness itself.
I'm trying to.
I'm trying to. Yeah, no, you're doing great. You're doing great, definitely. So there's a sense of trying to understand, to see. The sense of trying itself, of effort itself, supports some sense of being this separate individual one, the one that story is about. The trying is a phenomena that is comprised of sensations of the body, the breathing, thoughts. The sensations display in consciousness. The breathing displays in consciousness. The thoughts display in consciousness. And you are this consciousness. in which the thoughts, the sensations, and everything else is displaying. So I would suggest stop trying. Just to be at ease. Listen. You see, this awakening really also happens of itself. By some mysterious grace, I would say. There's nothing to do about it, really. Honestly, I can tell you. And people don't believe that, and there's so much conditioning. They have to try. So I can tell you, you could really stop trying. That's scary for many people. And it's really true. It really is. There's no effort that's helpful in this, ultimately. It's all in the hands of this mysterious and magical grace. Let the grace do the work. Let this unseen hand do its work. So, tell me your name again.
Margaret.
Margaret. Okay. What were you asking? No, I really thought you just forget. Yeah, Margaret.
Okay, I was asking, this is the most important moment right now.
This is the only moment.
This is the only moment right now. And
No, can you see that? Wait, we'll go really slowly. Let's start with this moment. It's a good starting place. Okay. There's just this moment.
okay.
Okay. Now, it's like I like to say, like 527 are the numbers that translate into the word now. 527 means now.
Okay.
This should just be written now here, N-O-W. Every clock should just say now. Right? I mean, isn't that the case?
Okay.
So,
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. There's just now. The future only exists as thoughts about some imagined that which is yet to come. The past is only thoughts referent to that which has already passed. Those thoughts display in this eternal now. There really isn't anything that's past and future. There's just this eternal now. This now is really, it's outside of time. There's no time to this now.
And there's decisions being made right now. There's decisions being made now.
Possibly. Okay, a decision, which are thoughts. Should I do this and take this road, or should I maybe go on this other road? Those are thoughts that we call decisions. And those thoughts are displaying in this now. So what's the big decision? Let me hear, I'm dying to know. Yeah? We'll help you out.
Well, the decision is that every decision affects the next one. So if it isn't the right one, or if it is, that moment now will depend on the decision. And
No, really see this. This moment now is now regardless of what decision or what apparent outcomes. It's still this now.
so
It's interesting that as human beings, we give such weight to decisions as if we have some control over the outcomes, but yet life experience teaches us again and again we can agonize and get so much advice and consultation, and nothing turns out as we expected it to. And yet we still make these decisions to be so profoundly important. I mean, one day it's, should I marry him? The next year, should I divorce him? All seems so important. And yet, here you are. Such profound decisions get made. It's amazing this non-existent mind changes all the time. I want this now. No, now I want this. And you get what you thought you want. Oh, wait a minute. I take that back. So what's the big decision? Well, this is like a meta conversation about decisions.
This is about decisions.
About decisions. Are we okay?
Yeah.
You're on the spot? Huh? Who's making the decisions? It's an interesting question.
I am. We all are.
Okay.
I am. We
Yeah.
all are.
And who is this I that's making the decisions? I mean, that's what I mean when I say first things first. We're interested in decision making and assume that it's I, this separate personal individual who's making them. But are you certain that that personal separate individual even exists? Or does it turn out, my God, it's all happening of itself? I'm not doing anything. So in satsang, I'm always pointing to first things first. Find out who you are. What is your true nature, your essential nature, your unchanging nature. Satsang is in behalf of this. Maybe it's possible to see it's all happening of itself, and one can really relax about decisions, knowing that things will unfold as they will. And really allow things to unfold as they will, embracing it, embracing what is, just as it is. This is the invitation.
Well, I was thinking about something you said last night about the definition of suffering is not being in the moment now. Is that what you said?
I may have said that the definition of suffering is wanting this moment somehow to be other than it is.
So if you're in that state of suffering where you want the moment to be something other than what it is now, isn't that affecting the moment now?
Yes, very much so.
And so wouldn't that affect how you can, so you won't be, so that will affect.
Well, it's enough that it affects this moment now. It's why I really plead for one to recognize one's true nature, and in this recognition see the possibility of letting go of needless suffering.
Won't that affect recognizing one's true nature? Won't that affect won't suffering, won't wanting to be in the moment other than what the moment is now? Won't that affect recognizing your own true nature?
Well, this needless suffering is often the motivating fuel for the search that may lead to the recognition that in fact my nature is pure consciousness and it's all happening of itself. This graceful suffering. But after this recognition that suffering is needless, it has served its purpose quite well. For those addicted to needless suffering, it's always available. You know, it's like I see so often and even with people who have glimpsed their true nature, the continuing entertaining of the belief in the story of one's personal unworthiness. Even though one has seen that the story is absolutely fiction, this story that we had taken to be the gospel truth. Still, this, which I now refer to as needless suffering, it's enough to see that that unworthy one doesn't exist, to at least facilitate the letting go of the perpetuation of the belief in the story. I mean, life for human beings has so much inevitable suffering. What a relief to know that we needn't entertain and indulge any longer the needless suffering. That habit is such an amazing habit. The tenacious holding to the story of my personal unworthiness. A possibility to let this incredible well of deep love and compassion for oneself and all others to emerge. But the story that we believe in to be the gospel truth is a story that lacks profoundly compassion and self-respect and unconditional love. How quick we are to believe a story that's lacking compassion, respect, and unconditional love.
Hanuman. Hi there. My name is Emma, and when you were speaking with Margaret, you spoke about not doing anything, and I'm just wondering what that looks like, because it seems to me that my tendency is to, when I come across something that I value, to aspire and to reach out and to attempt to, well, be it or learn it or get it or whatever. And I genuinely don't know what it feels like or is like to trust or surrender or, give space to the process itself.
Well, why not experiment? An experiment of trust. See, what's being trusted is what already is. And what already is that although it appears as if in this aspiration there is so much doing and efforting, the fact remains it's all happening of itself. And trust can give way to firm conviction. And firm conviction can give way to obvious self-evident truth of the way it already always is. Well, I don't know. I was suggesting to Emma that as an experiment in surrender to trust, that in this experiment, trust will give way to a firm conviction. And this sense of firm conviction will give way to the simple recognition of what is self-evidently and obviously true. That no longer requires faith or firm conviction. It's just clear and obvious. What a funny position. Look at you. Nancy. You stretch. Okay. Creaky, yeah, they do that. So,
I'm still a little confused about the the practicalities of. I mean, it's almost like I think I would die if I get up in the morning and I don't have this orientation. I guess I wouldn't die. I probably won't. But it's like,
well, that would be a bold experiment that would require great courage. So have great boldness and great courage, regardless of anything at all. Great boldness and courage will serve you well.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the big irony is this great fear of death. And the amazing revelation is that which we're so afraid of dying, as it turns out, never existed. As I like to say from time to time, in the vast array of spiritual teachings that speak of the death of the ego, I am quite certain that the ego in truth never dies, for in truth it never existed. The water the mirage held no water ever. And this attempt at ego death is the attempt to drain the mirage of its water that never was. This one can see. So, have great boldness and great courage. I remember The last time I was prostrate at the feet of the Master, thinking with my head upon his feet and my hands behind his heels, that I want the feeling of his feet upon my head to be burned into my memory. I never liked the idea of prostrating to anybody, but I just have such gratitude and love for him. You asked me what brought me back so many times. It was that love and that gratitude, and always wanting one more time to express it to him. Thank you for satsang.